After nearly 5 years of waiting, there's a chance full expanded comes to Pokemon TCG Live in 2026. They were very wishy-washy with their statement though, basically saying that possibly maybe one or more sets might arrive before December 31st of this year. Yeah, that time frame's about as solid as concrete when it's being poured. Regardless, like the first Star Wars movie that was actually the fourth Star Wars movie, there's a new hope. As a result, you're probably wondering, how do I get my feet so smooth? Well, it takes a lot of lotion, which I can afford thanks to everyone watching these videos and subscribing. Also, what the best overall expanded decks are in 2026. Well, in Japan, they host a yearly expanded tournament every May, which saw Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX being crowned the winner. Despite that victory, it's not number one. Not even close. That honor, of course, goes to Regidrago VSTAR. If you've dipped a toe into Live's neutered expanded format these past 4.5 years, this shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. Regidrago's awesome, able to copy the attack of any dragon type in your discard pile. And since they keep releasing new dragon cards, it gets better with each set. However, when expanded only includes cards from Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, and now Mega Evolution, you have to rely on things like Crispin or Ogerpon plus Energy Switch. But when you have access to Black and White and X and Y cards as well, which the actual expanded format does, things get wild like an area. A card that would probably be banned if the Pokemon Company actually cared about expanded, Double Dragon Energy gives any dragon type 2 of any energy. You still have to run energy acceleration in the form of Raihan and Crispin, but regardless, Double Dragon Energy is insane. Additionally, if you think Regidrago V will survive, Celestial Roar discards the top 3 cards of your deck, attaching all energy there to itself. Filling up the discard pile is important because that's where the V-Star does its copying. Along with Celestial Roar, Regidrago's V-Star power discards the top 7 cards of your deck, then lets you recover any 2 cards from the graveyard. Other cards to help you in this endeavor are Quick Ball and Mysterious Treasure, who discard a card from hand, with Battle Compressor immediately milling any 3 cards from deck. From there, it's all a matter of who to copy. Never seen play when it was standard legal due to that gaudy attack cost, Dialga-GX does 150 damage, letting you take an extra turn right after. Yes, that's insane. Kyurem punishes anybody with weak Pokemon on the bench, spreading 110 damage 3 times, while this Koraidon deals 280 damage. Naturally, Dragapult also makes an appearance, same with Goodra VSTAR, who can potentially keep a Regidrago alive. And we can't forget about good old Noivern EX. Special Energy is a huge part of Expanded. Use Dominating Echo, they can't attach any from hand. Plus, while it's weak, the first attack can wall basics. So clearly Regidrago is a beast. Yet despite occupying 11 of the top 32 slots in that Japanese tournament, its highest placement was 10th. It's sort of like what we see with Dragapult in Standard. While it had a near 50% meta share at NAIC this past weekend, Dragapult didn't win because everyone's either playing it or playing a deck that beats it. This means there are ways around Regidrago. If you ever played Night March back in the day on PTCGL or got screamed at by a random lady in Walmart for having 11 items in the express lane, you're familiar with Karen. Wait until a Regi player fills up their discard pile, then force them to shuffle all those Pokemon back into their deck. Sticking with the theme of targeting their discard pile, we have Girafarig. Recursion is another major part of Expanded, especially with access to Battle Compressor. The Giraffe can slot into any deck, sending 2 cards from their discard pile to the Lost Zone, never to be seen again. Lastly, there's Faba. Regidrago can't attack if it doesn't have energy. Faba sends any special energy in play directly to the Lost Zone, including Double Dragon D's nuts. This is the perfect time to talk about the other top decks in Expanded and how they managed to beat Regidrago. I'll start with Shadow Rider because it doesn't take a genius to realize that dragons are weak to Psychic when Lillie's Clefairy is in play and Regidrago is a dragon. The winning list played 11 basic energy, which is important because Shadow Rider deals 10 base damage plus 30 more for each psychic energy you have in play, with its ability not only accelerating energy but also drawing cards. Then you either attack with the Ghost Horse, Trevenant, and Dusknoir, who can one-shot a Regidrago while also removing 2 random cards from their hand, or Mimikyu. If you spotted that seemingly random card in the list, Mimikyu's the reason why there's a Dragon Dialga-GX in the deck. Since Regidrago uses Apex Dragon to attack, that's what Mimikyu copies. This way you can use Mimikyu to copy Dialga's Timeless GX to take another turn because Expanded is wild. Of course, after the first place Shadow Rider deck, we have 2 stall decks. Because if you know what you're doing, they can be impossible to beat in Expanded. They're also something you should concede against immediately since no one has fun in those matchups. So, you know how everyone hates Budew? Imagine if that effect was an ability and you get Vileplume. Regardless of where it is, if Vileplume is merely in play, no one can use items. Get Stoutland in the active, they can't use supporters either. Attacked with Bunnelby, they mill 2 cards each turn. And because why not, there's Bolelba and Bryson Man, which mills 3 from both decks while also potentially reducing their bench. Essentially, you leave them unable to do anything while slowly melting away their deck. Just try not to stare at this list too long, otherwise you'll go cross-eyed, and I need those peepers for ad revenue. For a similarly annoying stall deck in Expanded, there's good old Snorlax. A menace in Standard not too long ago, it takes advantage of the fact that every Expanded deck runs several helpers who don't actually attack. The entire strategy is a bit more complex than I'll make it seem, but essentially you trap somebody in the active who sucks, then discard all their energy with Plumeria. And if you succeed, there's Team Rocket's handiwork to potentially mill 4 cards per turn, with Lusamine ensuring you never run out of resources. Again, as you can see from the list, there's a lot more going on than what I mentioned, including Tropical Beach, which is a card you can't even craft in TCG Live. But it doesn't matter. Like Vileplume, if you ever see a stall deck in Expanded, just concede and save yourself the time. Next, we come to an actually fun deck. Something I popularized in TCG Live a few years ago is Raichu Spread, which has probably caused more people to quit that neutered Expanded format than any annoying stall deck. The whole strategy here is to win on turn 2 or 3 by wiping their entire butt. A Alolan Raichu allows you to discard any amount of lightning energy attached to it, then deal 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy discarded this way. Paired with Electrode GX, who knocks itself out, giving them 2 prizes in the process, you can accelerate up to 10 energy from the discard pile to Raichu. If it includes 4 reversal and 4 counter, that's 20, meaning you can spread 30 damage at least 20 times for a total of 600. Obviously, math is involved here, and bench barrier Pokemon like Mew and Mr. Mime can screw you over, but there is a way around them with Ditto Prism Star and Alolan Muck, as well as canceling Cologne. Or just go second, hoping they don't know what you're playing. Basically, all you want to do with this list is get as many energy in the discard pile as quickly as you can. Gengar and Mimikyu can buy you a turn with Whorehouse, preventing them from playing any cards from hand next turn, while everything else is here to churn through your deck. It's simple and elegant, yet powerful, like a nice pair of feet stepping on my Pokeballs. Based on the results of that Japanese tournament though, Mega Absol is actually the second best expanded deck behind Regidrago. Probably because it's the Hannah Montana of expanded decks. Not only does Mega Absol deal 200 damage, Danger Dog also discards any card from their hand. Obviously that's not quite enough to win, so Garbotoxin Garbodor is thrown into the mix. The sole reason why boomers have an unnatural hatred for this particular Pokemon, Garbotoxin removes every ability from every other Pokemon in the game, provided Garbodor has a tool attached. So you blow your entire ability load turn 1 using Crobat and Dedenne and Squawkabilly for card draw, Tapu Lele to get a supporter, and Tapu Koko Prism Star to accelerate 2 lightning from the discard pile. Then for the rest of the game, you basically stop anyone from using abilities while simultaneously removing the best card from your opponent's hand each turn. What you'll quickly notice once we get full expanded in live is that items, abilities, and special energy are extremely important. So why not add a third annoyance in Temple of Sinnoh? This shuts off the effects of all special energy, meaning double dragon energy is just a single colorless energy. And without access to abilities or special energy, Regidrago will struggle mightily. To guarantee an early Garbodor, there's Boost Shake, which ends your turn, and Wally, which doesn't end your turn but is a supporter. And of course, the tool here is Floatstone, which gives whoever it's attached to free retreat. Best of all, Snorlax Stall can't trap a Garbodor since you blocked the thickest Pokemon's ability. But yeah, even with a slightly more simplified strategy, the list is still insane, which is what you get in a format with access to 10,000 different cards. Before I finish myself off, I wanted to highlight a few of the staple expanded cards you'll be seeing quite a bit of in the full format. Arguably the best one is Versus Seeker. So, you know how in Standard you play 4 copies of Lilies because you need to ensure you start it and you also want more for the rest of the game? Things are much different in Expanded. There, you play a maximum of maybe 2 copies of each supporter because Versus Seeker can return any one from the discard pile to your hand. To go along with this strategy, there's Tapu Lele-GX. While you could use Meowth or Lumineon or I guess Jirachi Uppercase EX, Tapu Lele is the best for multiple reasons. 1, it's a Psychic type so it can be found with Mysterious Treasure. 2, it has a passable attack dealing 20 damage times the number of energy attached to both actives. And 3, its GX attack fully heals 2 of your bench Pokemon for 1 Psychic, making it the perfect support or Gitterer. Despite that, the easiest way to put supporters into your discard pile isn't by playing them. It's by using Battle Compressor to put them directly into the bin, then Seekering them into your hand. Battle Compressor also helps make Regidrago VSTAR insane, since you can put whichever attackers you need directly into the graveyard. Sticking with the battle theme, Battle VIP Pass immediately benches any 2 basics provided it's your first turn. So it's basically a poffin for everybody that only works turn 1, and yes, that's crazy. And who could forget about Hisuian Heavy Ball, which laughs in the face of RNG trying to prize your strongest basic. Then we come to Quick Ball, the best Pokemon search card in Expanded, unless your name's Regidrago because you have Mysterious Treasure. By playing with your balls quickly, you can discard 1 card from hand to get any basic in deck. Along with Tapu Lele, there's 3 you'll be seeing most often in Dedenne-GX, Crobat V, and Squawkabilly EX. All 3 have different ways of getting you deeper into your deck, meaning it's highly probable you'll see 20 to 30 to maybe 40 cards by the end of your first turn. Yeah, don't be afraid to have my stream on in the background during your opponent's turn while playing Expanded. Unless you're in a public place, because you never know when I might talk about playing with your balls. A few other cards you should be aware of include Forest Sealstone, which gives any Pokemon V, like Crobat, the power to grab any card from deck. Additionally, Field Blower is huge, getting rid of stadiums and tools. For Garbodor specifically, if you want to use abilities, you need to get rid of their float stones. Special Charge is something we've been begging for in Standard for years, giving you a way to recycle special energy. But if you could, it wouldn't be so special now, would it? And instead of messing around with specific damage boosting tools, there's Muscle Band, which is a blanket plus 20 against everybody. On the stadium side, there's a lot. Some of the biggest ones are Skyfield, which expands your bench up to 8 like Area 0, except there's no Terra qualifier. And Parallel City, which locks them to just 3 bench Pokemon. On the ability blocking side, Path to the Peak shuts off all rulebox abilities, while Silent Lab targets only basics. Both are great, but Path to the Peak is typically going to be the more heavily played one. If and when Expanded does come to Pokemon TCG Live, like when I finally do a foot reveal, it's going to make millions of people happy. Obviously, the game is going to break and there will be a million interactions that cause major glitches, but that's just TCG Live. Ultimately, the point of this video was to show you that the true Expanded format is ruled by Regidrago V-STAR with Mega Absol and Raichu spread great options as well, alongside annoying decks like Vileplume and Snorlax. But what you should really take away from this is that despite my constant jabberings at the lack of Expanded in Live, 69% of Pokemon card players will hate it. Going first means you can take a 5 to 10 minute turn and basically lock your opponent out of the game. And any great idea you might have is immediately ruined by any of the 6 or 7 top stall decks. Yes, you'll probably dip a toe into the format once it's out. But the first time you spend 20 minutes of your life against a Snorlax deck only to lose because they flip double heads on Team Rocket's handiwork, you'll never pick it up again like every parent does with their kid at some point, never realizing it would be the last time. That being said, the biggest issue with TCG Live Expanded right now is that no one really cares. A viewer by the name of Shutterstock used to keep an up-to-date list of all the best Expanded decks in this weird format. But due to low interest and low player counts, it was abandoned 3 years ago. My video earlier this year on the format got a decent amount of attention, but then the dev announced plans to finally expand Expanded at some point this year. Well, 6 months later, there's been nothing. Still, it doesn't change the fact that any work anybody puts into Expanded today could be invalidated tomorrow if the dev decides to finally add the cards. By revealing their plans so far ahead of time with a release window of 365 days, they actively discouraged everyone from playing Expanded. Yeah, not the best strategy for player retention. Irregardless, I'll include a few PTCGL lists in the description for you to try out, including Regidrago, Mew VMAX, Lugia V-STAR, and my personal favorite Raichu spread. No stall decks though. Just remember that it only supports Sun and Moon cards forward, and you still can't battle friends because TCG Live makes sense.